Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Undaunted Normandy. Now, this is the digital adaptation of the popular board game, one that I admittedly do not own. This digital version is on Steam's early access program for about 15, 16 bucks or so, and I stress early access. Everything that you're about to see is subject to change. There is an online multiplayer aspect in addition to a single player mode, although I did log in and I didn't see a whole lot of people playing. I think I saw maybe 10 or 15 games total. But that's okay. Typically I would like to play against the AI first anyway, because I don't know this game very well, and I mean, my gameplay, it clearly shows, because I'm sort of just mucking around trying to figure out what I'm doing. So what is this game all about, and what are you trying to do? Well, this is a 1 versus 1 game. One player is the Allies, and one player is the Axis during World War II. And there are multiple scenarios, so you're going to choose a scenario, and each of the two players will choose a side, and you can also, adjust some other things, fog of war, difficulty, at least against the AI and stuff like that. And the scenario that you pick will tell you how to set up the map, what units go where, and there's a deck building element to this game too, in addition to a tactical battlefield thing where you're rolling dice and attacking your opponent. The scenario will tell you what cards will start in your deck and what cards will be available for purchase, so to speak, or available to recruit later as you play certain cards. If you're confused by all of this, there is a tutorial and this in-game manual of sorts. Highly recommend reading through this. I actually watched a how to play video on my own outside of this, and I fully intend to come back and reread all of this, because it's a pretty intense and overwhelming game. Although the first scenario, not all of the units are used, thankfully, so it's a good way of getting used to it. But you'll eventually get snipers and mortar teams and other things that you normally wouldn't get in the first couple of scenarios. But anyway, I digress. What are you doing? Well, again, the map is set up, the units are placed based on the scenario, and each side has a scenario objective. And in the first scenario, our goal is to get to 5 victory points. And to do that, we have to capture certain locations on the map that have stars on them. The stars will have a number, and that number will say how many victory points that location is worth. Sounds simple, right? Well, kinda, sorta. At the beginning of a round, each player draws 4 cards from their deck. They're going to choose 1 during the initiative phase to discard, but they reveal them before they do so. They reveal them at the same time. And the person with the higher number in the upper left-hand corner of that card will retain initiative. So if the US has initiative, for example, and I play a 7 and my opponent plays a 3, I get to keep initiative. In case of a tie, the player with initiative keeps the initiative. The initiative simply means I get to play my cards first. So each card does something different. Scouts can freely move around the battlefield using the scout action. And this is important because that's a major thing in this game, as I came to learn. Units can just not move whenever they feel like it, wherever they feel like it. First, you have to scout the location, and once you scout a location, then the rest of your units can move on to those locations. Your scouts will move around and scout territory. Your riflemen will move around and capture territory. Riflemen are very necessary to capturing those locations so that you can get those victory points that I was talking about. But these cards can do other things, like attack, and so on. So it depends on the card that you play. Now, I'm not going to sit here and get into all of it, but once you play your cards, and once your opponent plays their cards, you start a new round, rinse and repeat. Fight for initiative by playing a single card, and that card is discarded. So if you play a really high-valued card, you won't get to play it during your actual action step. So that's an interesting give and take. There's also these fog of war cards that you'll get that will clutter up your hand. Typically, you get them from your opening deck of cards. Also, when you scout a new territory on the board, you automatically get a fog of war card in your discard pile. And like all deck builders, when your deck runs out, you shuffle your discard pile, and that becomes your new hand. Combat in this game is fairly straightforward. When you attack another unit with one of your units, you're going to roll some dice. And the defense value of your opponent is based on a couple of different things. Units themselves have a defense value, locations have like a cover value, and the number of spaces in between you and your opponent also count toward that. It's like 1 defense per space. So you have to make sure that you're rolling well. It's a 10-sided die, and if you meet or exceed, then you hit your opponent. And when you do that, they have to discard that same card of the unit that was hit. So if I hit a rifleman, they have to discard a rifleman from their hand. If they don't have a rifleman in their hand, they have to look at their discard pile and remove that from the game. Did I say deck? Okay. Earlier when I said when they discard a rifleman from their hand, it gets removed permanently from the game. So you're sort of dwindling their numbers. Same thing with the discard pile. If they have no riflemen in their hand to get rid of, then they'll check their discard pile. If there's a rifleman in there, they'll remove it from the game. If not, they'll check their deck. And if there's still none there, then they remove their rifleman token from the board, and they don't get to put that back until they manage to get more riflemen from their pool of available troops that they can play certain cards to get. So it's really intense. So even the first scenario, I played for like 25, 30 minutes, and I'm sitting there. I let Germany, unfortunately, like get a lot of ground moving left, and he was close to winning the game. Luckily, I got some really good lucky rolls in, and I hit him so often that he was pretty much out of rifleman cards and couldn't capture territory. And I was starting to remove his tokens from the board. So I stayed in high cover areas, and I was making these pot shots at him as he was entering territory that was low cover. And luckily, I rolled well, and all he had was Fog of War cards and some scout cards in his hand. I used that time to move around and capture territories and finally win. As far as the digital adaptation is concerned, there are some issues that I have. First and foremost, there's an AI slider in the options menu. When it's all the way to the right, the AI is really slow. Like, cards get drawn really slow. And then on the left, if you take the slider all the way to the left, the AI is like really fast. I feel like that's backwards. So, like, there's no indication on the slider if it's slow or fast. It's just left and right. So I feel like the slider is reversed. There's also these error messages I get in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Every turn, I see, like, 68, move, exclamation point, A, 1, 7, true, 0. Like, what the heck? There were so many at one point, it was covering my interface in the upper left-hand corner. Why those things are showing up there, I have no idea. Again, I feel like this game is extremely buggy at this point in time. That being said, like, this is hard to review because, like, I like the game. I like the idea. Like, if I bought the board game, I would probably like it. I imagine my fiance would not, because she's not a big territory area control kind of person, but she's a big deck builder person. But, like, I like the game. There's some strategies, like moving people and deciding what cards to use as initiative and which cards to play for this particular action. Just the first scenario alone kept me busy. Really a long time thinking. I can only imagine the later scenarios where you're using every single card type, snipers, mortars, other things. I don't know if there's vehicles. I'm really scared to look ahead on that. But anyway, like, the digital, though, you can see in the upper left, look at the number of errors in the upper left there. I'm just saying, like, that doesn't... This game is in early access, and it shows. I'll just simply say that. I feel like, and again, there's no full screen option in the option, or there's no windowed mode in the options menu. Trying to access things and figure out what's going on, like, I feel like the interface could use some work. I wish there were 2D representations of, like, I don't know if it's even in game. Like, I couldn't find it, but maybe there is. But I want to change the 3D to a 2D so I can more easily see all the different tokens. Like, I see little guys standing there, but I can't read the word rifleman. I can't read the word scout. I can't tell which unit is which. If I hover over a card, it highlights on the map, which is great. But, like, I wish it were more, like, I wish I could change it to a top-down 2D view so that I can clearly see what's what, and then switch back to 3D when I feel a little bit more cheeky. I want to recommend this game, I really do, but I have to warn you, if you do get it at this point in time, you may encounter some problems with it. Even just a day ago, the developer introduced a patch that fixed a major rules blunder, which is great. I'm glad he's so quick to fix these things, but like somehow that failed to get through through like a quality check, so it's just weird. But anyway, I do recommend this game. It's just be on the lookout. It's a little buggy and it's a bit overwhelming to a new time player. So I recommend it, but with some caveats. Well, this is Vince. Thanks for watching, and I will catch y'all next time. Take care.